May 26, 2020 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Ms. McCall, can you read our leadership team?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. We are the Marion County Leadership Team. If we chose one word to describe us, it would be student-centered, because student success is our mission. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and relevant. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, diverse, and dynamic. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and clarify expectations, and get better. We do not accept excuses. We will not accept mediocrity. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please turn off your electronic devices or to put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Ms. Suzanne Green, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Please let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
With the exception of item C12.1, the outside counsel agreement with attorney Mark Levitt of Allen, Norton and Blue, PA, to provide legal services for 12 months, which has been placed under discussion. I recommend approval of the agenda for the May 26, 2020 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 31st, 2020 special administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Stacy. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 2nd, 2020 emergency school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King. Seconded by Ms. Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I'll now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
In compliance with Section 286.0114 Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either with regard to one of tonight's agenda items or a matter related to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms are due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to others. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to the procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. If there are matters dealing with student discipline to include expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are strictly prohibited. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez Lopez, any?
Yes. Miss Melanie Slaughter?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry to keep coming back here. Melanie Slaughter, 4525 Southeast 12th Avenue, Ocala, Florida, 34480. I am here today, to let the board know, I did receive a telephone call from Jody Phillips with regards to restarting sports on campus on June 15th, which I appreciate. And as I told Mr. Phillips I was going to do, I contacted the mothers who had contacted me, and so that's why I'm back. Because they don't understand why you can go to summer camp on June 1st, the governor opened up sports activities on June 1st. All these things are happening on June 1st. All these camps are getting reopened now on June 1st because of what the governor said, and our children cannot go on campus for any activities at all. The biggest concern that I received was from the cheerleading parents who, I guess, there's a tight window on when they can order their uniforms and they can't do tryouts. And I don't know why, since they're not using equipment, they're out in the field, they can social distance. If they could go to some field in Marion County other than a school facility and have tryouts, that would probably work because the public parks and everything else are open. But they've got a very tight window from these vendors and when they can order their uniforms. And they're concerned that the uniforms won't be back in time. The volleyball kids are in a situation where they practice 2 days on campus out of the week, and then they go to a gym for 2 weeks. 2 days out of the week. They'd like to be able to go to the gym and work out, which the gyms are at 50% capacity. They can't do that under the auspice of the school board either. There are kids, and I can identify a school because I don't know 100% for sure, but there are football players working out at fields. They're playing 7-on-7. They're under the auspices of coaches that are not employees of the Marion County School Board. People have seen them. I mean, they are working out, and they are doing things to prepare for football season. And the schools that are following the rules and the mandates and everything like that are getting penalized because of it, because they're out there doing things to get ready for football. And so I'm just asking everybody to have an even playing field. Do it on June 1st. I sent the entire school board and Dr. Grantham and Mr. Phillips the national guidelines. And I think the national guidelines provide a pathway to let these kids back on campus now. On June 1st, 10 people, they tell you everything that you have to do in excruciating detail. Now, I didn't know this until I researched, but I guess Mr. Tomlin is in charge of the Florida High School Association, and they're giving us zero guidance. So that is a problem. And I know Reverend Cummings has reached out to them and done everything he can do to try to get some guidance from the state. So I understand that everybody's just kind of being cast on their own devices. But I'm just here because there are concerns from band, cross-country's training anyway, because they don't need, to come on campus to run. But there's some concerns from the parents, and they're coming to me because they know I'll come here and they don't want to. So they're calling me about it, and they're, complaining, and this is why they're complaining, and they don't understand why their kids can go to camp next week and we can't get on school grounds. So I'm just bringing it to you. So when Facebook blows up, you're not going to be able to say, nobody told us that people were upset, because I'm telling you that they're upset. So it is for what it is, what it's worth.
Reverend, may I address? Because we did have conversation today. So, talked with Mr. Phillips and Dr. Grantham and I. We had a talk today. And I was going to share this at the end of the meeting with y'all. We are prepared to go on the 15th. Mr. Phillips is going to come on the work session on the 4th to debrief you all on the plans that he will have in place. We're not ready to go on the 1st. We're not. We will be ready to go on the 15th. Mr. Phillips needs to get the plans in place. He needs to share with all the ADs. We need to have everybody on the same page. We need to have training. We need to make sure everything is clean. We will be ready on the 15th. We just won't. And I was thinking as Ms. Slaughter was talking, Miss Stacy's closing statement the last time about, I'm totally on your page with this. So know that I'm a little bit more progressive with thinking on the whole COVID thing, but we won't be ready on the 1st. So if I'm saying it, please know that we won't, but we will be on the 15th with a solid plan. And we'll have the plan for not only football, but for band and for cheerleading and the
Volleyball.
uniforms. Mr. Phillips was on that today. Everybody in the state of Florida is in the same situation with ordering uniforms. So we may go a game without the official uniforms, but that's something we can address, and that's an easy problem to fix. So I just ask you to trust Mr. Phillips, that he will be ready on the 15th, and he will be here on the 4th to brief you all.
Let me ask you something. But something like cheerleaders just practicing in the field, I mean, they don't even have to go inside. They're just doing, they're just doing their practice on the field. Do they even have to go inside?
No, ma'am. But, I mean, and they're the ones that are causing the biggest concern to me about their uniforms, and I don't know why that is, but I guess every year they have to try out, and every year they have to order their uniforms by a certain date, or they won't have them for the first game. So their concern is if they wait until the 15th, and Mr. Phillips talked about, you open it up on the 15th, they could order uniforms the next week on the 22nd or 23rd or whatever it is. They are concerned they're not going to have their uniforms by then.
What is the deadline for uniforms? Have they said?
They usually order them the first week in June. So they always, if they order them the first week in June, they always have them by the start of football season, which for us is August 21st, because they are doing the schedule now. The schedule is due by the 1st of June, and nobody's heard anything about them postponing football season, because if they did that, I wouldn't be here, because we'd have plenty of time for everything. But they won't say that. They're locking it in on, August 21st.
But they need to have tryouts before they order uniforms.
Correct. That's the problem.
So, why can't they, there's hundreds of parks in Marion County. Why can't they go to a park?
Because they're afraid that if they're a school board employee and go out to a park in violation of a school board policy, they will be fired.
I don't see how that's a violation of the school board policy. They're working with the cheerleaders. The whole thing's crazy. I don't see why they can't just work on the field. I think that this is just getting too ridiculous. But I can understand not using the gymnasium. I can understand not the bathrooms not being ready and stuff like that. But honestly, the school grounds are public property. People can actually go on the school grounds, not inside the buildings, but on the grounds. I mean,
I understand, Ms. Stacy, but most of the coaches are Marion County school employees. They're not going to violate a school board policy. And I think that the people that are going out and doing practices at fields like by my church at the First Presbyterian Church are using a public open field, and they're having parents do it and people that are not school board employees, because there's nothing you can do to them. And
I don't see why there's a problem with the school board employees working with them off campus. What is the problem? I don't see a problem. What's the problem, Dr. Mayor? With school board employees working with the cheerleaders off campus?
Well, maybe we need to be looking at in light of the fact that we had a work session that Mr. Phillips came in front of us to last Thursday.
A lot since then.
And then on Friday, I believe the governor made his announcement
Correct.
about opening up camps and everything. And then that was just codified today. So now we have a new dynamic in place. And I understand school board employees being leery about what they should be doing.
It
And if
take 3 weeks to fix
it shouldn't, and if it warrants us adjusting our policy so that we can get started sooner. I think I heard you say that the ADs are just being informed now of the plan, and I'm wondering why they weren't part of the planning so that they could have been able to say, hey, we can get these bathrooms clean and ready, these facilities clean and ready in 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 day. I don't know.
Mr.
Because
Phillips has kept them.
Yeah, they were.
If you all give consensus tonight, Mr. Phillips will get on it tomorrow.
My thoughts are there's a lot to consider, like even our employees. So first they're hearing the 15th if they want, but it's conflicting a little bit because they're hearing the 15th and then it's the 1st and they're not knowing where to go.
we weren't being clear as the
Correct.
governor's change. Yes.
Right. And so that's what has happened. I think there's just a lot of
And we
uncertainty.
were clear that the day of that meeting, we said, and if things change, we trust you
We asked for
to
flexibility.
go change it tomorrow,
But
whatever
the
you have to do.
flexibility, again, I talked to Mr.
For the sake
Phillips.
of the kids.
I talked to Mr. Phillips today, Dr. Grantham today, concerning the same issue. There are some issues as far as, like Dr. Mayor said, we're not going to be ready on the 1st. We're not gonna be ready on the first. I don't see why they can't get together in the park if they're just trying to do cheerleading tryouts or whatever. I don't see why that's an issue. That, I personally don't see an issue. But as far as the other things, we need to make sure that schools are ready.
And I don't
for them on the
disagree with
15th.
anything you're saying. I'm just telling you that it doesn't make logical sense to the parents, that
Or
we
anybody.
can't go out on a field and have cheerleading tryouts and get our uniforms ordered because I don't have permission to do it. I understand, obviously, football is an entirely different sport. I don't have a daughter that's a cheerleader. It doesn't matter to me. But the parents that are calling me, it doesn't make any sense. And if their kids can go to work out at a facility that is at 50% for volleyball, they want to be able to have their coaches email their kids and say, yeah, you can go to the gym. If they'll let you into the gym to do these workouts, for 2 days a week before the school opens up, that's the problem. It's a slippery slope that you get yourselves into, because then they're going to want to have their kids go work out.
So
they're-
who's in the gym working out now?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Oh, I thought you said some would do.
No. They send the volleyball kids, according to what their mothers are telling me, because I don't have a daughter playing volleyball either. The volleyball kids come on campus 2 days a week, and then they go to this gym that allows the kids to work out there 2 days a week, because they don't want to, they obviously don't want the girls in there with
So
the
that's
football
like their
players.
normal routine, but not
Right.
what they're doing now.
Right, but they would normally be starting it now, and they're not doing it now because of everything that's going on. And I understand that you guys are dealing with changes every single day, and so is Dr. Mayer. And I understand that it's not fair. It's just that, with Trump on Twitter, every single day you hear something. And so everybody's calling, and everybody's like, well, why can't my kid do this, and blah, blah, blah. So what I'm asking the school board to consider doing, and Dr. Mayer, is, put it on social media, put it on Twitter, tell them there is a light at the end of the tunnel, so they stop calling me about this.
But they're
And-
finna hear it right now.
You know what I mean?
Not everybody
And,
watches.
Not everybody watches it. Put it on Twitter, put it on whatever, and
First of all,
say on the
I don't see why
15th
it's
you
gonna
can
take
get on.
2.5 weeks to do this. These
School
these
ends-
people have been off.
Who
They've
is on
been
the first?
they've been working from home. They should be super rested. They should be dynamite, ready to go. I mean, if I've been resting for 2 months and I've been
But
off,
that's
and
not the issue, Ms. Stacy. It's not an issue whether or not the staff
No.
is ready. It's the issue about the schools aren't ready. We still got to
think-
deal with the safety part of this.
so the field, so the high school grass is not mowed where the girls can stand there and practice their cheers. I just do not accept that. I haven't seen a single weed out there yet.
Well, in light
This
of,
is absurd.
in light of the new information and guidance that we've gotten from the governor, what adjustments can be made would be my question.
would say,
to
let's
move
just
this
move it
along
up.
a little bit faster now that
We
There
did move it
appears to
up.
be an
It was
opportunity.
moved up from the 20-something to the 15th.
know.
It has been moved up.
6th.
Yeah, it was moved up from July to the 15th.
Right.
So, I mean,
Don't want it sooner. I'm texting with Mr. Phillips now, and he said certainly he will do it.
I'm
But
sure
he's the expert, though.
he's the expert.
He needs to be here, and we need other
that
key
keeps the
people.
girls from
Why can't we
practicing.
wait till why can't we, it's scheduled for the 4th. If we make a decision at the 4th, then we can change at the 4th. But let's hear what he has to say before we go forward, just shooting from the hip. We need to make informed decisions.
Say
Reverend
reopen
Cummings.
everything. I want to hear from Mr. Phillips to
I-
say, in light of this new information that's been given to us, what can we, now
I,
what?
I agree 100% with Reverend Cummings. Let's let Mr. Phillips present on June 4th. School's not even out till the 1st.
Right.
And see what he says. If it can be moved up at all, I'm sure that he's looking at that, hearing what we're all saying. So
And-
he's the expert. Let's give him the opportunity to
And that's
come
fine.
in.
And I'm grateful for the 15th. I mean, as a football mother, thank you. I am grateful for the 15th, because my kid needs that, so I'm happy. But I'm just telling you, I don't know other logistical issues that cheerleading and volleyball and these other sports have, and I'm just passing on the message because I think everybody's trying to accommodate what's best for their children, and
There's-
I'm just passing it
There
on.
are some things that he and I discussed today. We want to make sure that the ADs are properly going to train the coaches on how they need to disinfect after these kids work out, after they leave the building. And the kids need to have a day of training of this, because it's their lives as well. So we need to make sure, we don't just
We
need
aren't
to,
going to be disinfecting the grass. The girls should be able to practice on those fields. This is insane. They
So-
should not have to
so-
go to a park.
can we agree to go to the 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we agree that?
And if, go ahead and put Mr. Phillips on notice, they need to go ahead and start preparing the schools, just in case something does change on the 4th. But we need to be We need to hear what he has to say.
Okay, what about the cheerleading coaches working with the girls off campus? Is there a problem with that? Since you won't let them stand on our grass, can they stand on the grass next door? This is crazy.
Can they wait till the 4th? They can wait till the 4th for us to make a
They can
decision.
do whatever you
I think
ask
they
them
need
to
to wait
do
till
as
the
a
4th.
board, and I'm just asking you to put something on social media and communicate with them that at this point, it's June 15th, we are trying for the 8th. If we can make it work, we can't promise you that, but we are trying to accommodate you on the 8th. I think that would do a lot for the mothers to make them happy.
And I agree, and Mr. Christian and I talked today about that going out after the meeting tonight, because not only to calm down the parents and let them know, but to reach out to families who may not know that's coming up, so they have opportunity to have their child try out. So Kevin will work with each principal to get the message out to that community.
So let's strive for the 8th.
Because to be honest with you, I think a kid that's coming out of 8th grade, going into high school, needs to have this time to prepare, to get ready to do the tryouts. Just to announce the 1st, that they're going to be able to do it on the 1st, that's next Monday. What 8th grade kid had the opportunity? No,
they
what
got
8th grade
9
kid,
days.
hold on, Miss
10
Stacy.
days,
Hold on,
but
Miss
not
Stacy.
8.
What 8th grade kid had the opportunity to prepare from today to next Monday?
My kid was in gymnastics. She was prepared every single day for cheerleading. Thank you. So,
That might be the exception to the rule. I'm talking about you have kids, young boys coming out of 8th grade, getting ready to go to high school. There is no freshman football, so they go straight to JV. Am I correct, Ms. Slaughter?
What happened with my son last year was the day school was out, Coach Farmer had a meeting. He was in the field house the next day.
Correct.
And that's how they did it,
Right.
and it was that fast.
And going from MCYFL to high school football is completely different. So let's give them,
Home, too.
yeah, so let's, exactly, so
if
let's,
Jody can move it up, Heidi, we'd appreciate it. That would be good for the
Share with
parents.
the
and good for
parents
the kids.
that, you know,
I have a friend who's
we
only,
want this to
we do.
open up.
I have a friend whose
Truly, we do.
Need to do, yeah.
only child was killed in a motorcycle accident on one of those early dismissal days. That's why I have an issue with early dismissal days, because his mom didn't know it was an early dismissal day in high school, so they didn't have football practice that day, so they were all out at the lake. I'd like to get kids back on track as quick as possible, so we do not have accidents happening. We do not have kids falling through the cracks, because if there's too much time between now and when they start, the kids are going to go wandering. We need to collect our sheep and get them all collected, herd it all back up as quickly as possible.
And I don't think there's anybody that disagrees with you on
Well,
that.
then let's don't sit here and think of 10,000 reasons why we can't do something. Let's think of 10,000
I
reasons how
think
we
we
can.
are thinking of 10,000 reasons.
Nothing's against.
Dr. Mayor, I heard what you said. You said you would look into it and you'd move it up for us if you could. Thank you.
And, yeah, do you want a meeting, special meeting this week?
No.
No, the 4th. Okay, he's ready for the 4th.
I think everybody will be geared and ready to go.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
have a great evening.
Share the sense of urgency.
I will.
We
I will
wanna
let
be
them
safe.
know. Thank you.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to just address was that when we do have kids coming back on the property, we have to make sure that it is a sanctioned event with a coach, some type of school board employee. What we don't want to say that our schools are open to the public and everybody floods our school campuses, because insurance purposes, liability issues can occur. So we just want to make the public aware that when these events are, activities take place, that they're a school board sanctioned, district sanctioned event. We just can't have parents from all over the county going on school board property, practicing lacrosse, cheerleading, basketball, football, or whatever, so they don't get out there and get hurt. Plus, it's trespassing, and we don't want people to do that. Not that we enforce it, but we just don't want people to come out and just be all over our campus. It's a safety issue.
Thank you. I think that's one of the my biggest issues, safety. So we'll look at it
And
on
that's what
next
we're
Thursday,
on track as
and we'll get them back.
Safety.
Okay? So next Thursday. May I have a motion to approve consent, I'm sorry, any more? All right. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C 6.1 through 6C 19.1 with the exception of item C 12.1 that has been placed under discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. King. All in favor?
Aye.
There's no discussion. Item C 12.1, approval outside counsel agreement with attorney Mark Levitt of Allen, Norton, and Blue, PA to provide legal services for 12 months. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Thor. Ms. McCall, I understand you pulled this item for discussion.
I did, and I just wanted to talk about, we've been pretty firm on not raising fees, and I believe that Mr. Levitt's firm is already above what we would normally pay, and I'm just having a little bit of a problem. I don't want to set a precedent, and I was the one a couple of years ago that said, good attorneys, you pay for them. And it has nothing to do with Mr. Levitt as an attorney. It's about the fee. It's also about the fact that with a new superintendent coming in, not exactly sure what direction she will want to go. So I really don't think the $260, I think he's already at $250, am I correct? I would have a hard time raising his fee, just because of our conversations that we've had, and we have many attorneys on board with us at $175. So,
And what about the, I don't know what the current, associate or legal secretary, the one that was the $100 an hour?
the paralegal.
Paralegals.
Paralegal. I don't know what that current contract is either. I don't want to raise that along with it. I don't
I
know.
want to say that was around 75.
75.
I think it was 75. And we had the opinion last year when we were going through this, last year or the year before. Ms. King, remember, did it come from the Attorney General? Or who set the,
The state. It was
the state,
recommended
the
$200
recommended was
for agencies.
200,
For state
was
agencies.
200.
Right.
So I just, I can't go along with raising the fees. I don't want to lose Mr. Levitt's firm, but I think $250 an hour is really very fair for a government agency, for a school board. So I will not vote to accept this contract with the $260 an hour fee.
I agree.
Any other comments? Ms. Stacy?
I agree.
I agree too.
Ms. Thor?
I agree. When does this have to be approved? Like, when does the next year start? Is it July 1?
July 1.
Oliver can answer those questions for you.
So
He's got the background on it.
is there any way, Ms. Oliver, to extend the current contract? I really want to give our new superintendent the opportunity, not that Mr. Levitt's firm would not be the firm of choice for her, but I would really like to look at an extension of his current contract for maybe 6 months until she gets here and kind of gets, but I don't know, even if he comes back with $260, I'm really not willing to pay them more than what we are currently paying.
Right.
I think that's fair. I like the idea of having a contract that is pending the new superintendent's ability to talk to the board and make a decision on that. We don't know what her thoughts will be, and I think that's fair. I certainly can also ask Mr. Levitt if he would stay at his current contracted rate. We have been, just on his behalf, we have been at that same $250 an hour rate for 3 years now, since 16-17. So he hasn't raised his rates for 3 years. He was trying to raise it $10 an hour, which I don't think is exorbitant in any way, but I do understand that we have our limits and we have to make these decisions. So certainly I can ask him, would he agree to continue the contract for the same rate and then leave it pending. And you know, the contract has always had a clause in there about 30 days, and, you know, if the school board is wanting to terminate the contract, they can do so within 30 days. So that's in there.
Could you explain, this is for things he does, that he's been doing for us for a long time?
Yes,
So it's
Mr.
not-
Levitt, I think most of you do realize Mr. Levitt has been with us for a long time. He's got a lot of historical knowledge in our county. We have a very good working relationship with him, which is, you know, that kind of stuff is worth the money sometimes. He is very good at what he does.
And he's being paid 25% more than the other lawyers, so.
He is being paid well, so, and we're getting good service, that is
He's
true.
done really good work for us.
He's saved us a lot of money also in a lot of his settlements. He helps us in all of the labor and employment law questions that we have. Certainly does our hearings, composes the administrative documents that you guys see, the complaints. And then,
Good clients.
yeah, yes.
So there's a bonus there too.
Someone in his area of law, refresh me again of what the average pay is. Is it less, more, around the same?
I think, I don't know, 195 to
We went, yeah, we
275.
went through this, and the
300.
average was 200 or less. It was less than 200. So we
195.
gave him the 250. He's at the
But-
250,
Okay.
correct? He's at 250 now.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And
He's on the
I
higher
believe
end.
he is specialized. He's definitely specialized in his area. He knows a lot about, employment and labor law, and that is very important. He takes our cases to DOA. He handles our FCHR and EEOC complaints. He handles lawsuits for us and gets settlements that are amazing.
Yeah, he does a tremendous job.
He does.
I think,
And
I
that's why
think,
we pay him 25% more than we pay anyone else.
yeah, and I think to be fair to Dr. Guller that's coming in, she needs to have the opportunity. She may not want to have him as counsel. I think we need
Correct,
to.
or she may know someone else that,
Correct.
you just don't know. I think it's fair to give her that opportunity.
Well, and it's about precedent. I mean,
Correct.
we began to raise attorneys' fees more than we've been told we should be paying, then it's just a precedent.
It's just, then becomes a money creep.
I do understand that.
We don't want to get too far beyond the industry standard for school boards.
He did want you to know, though, I know I have it here in my email, just so that you don't think he's trying to take advantage of the school board. He did want you all to know that the Marion Tax Collector also has him contracted, and that is for $290 an hour. The Marion County Sheriff's Office is at $300 an hour, and other school boards in Florida are all at $260 or higher an hour. So
Except here, we're not.
well,
Our
we,
guys are in the under 200.
It's not just us.
correct, but I'm just saying, his other clients, at least,
His
we're
other
not the high end, so.
His other clients, okay.
His other
clients,
out of 67
yeah.
are, but this is good.
Correct.
Excellent that he's doing so well.
It is, yeah. Got to put food on the table, right?
Maybe he want to give us a discount. We're a poor district.
Well, I think he thinks he did, but I will certainly ask about the 250 remaining the same.
We're
and
poor.
Would we just bring this back again?
Can we just table this then?
Well, we're not going to approve this tonight, so.
Right.
So you want to vote no and let it come back, or do you want to table it?
Well, I think Ms. McCall had a good idea. Go-
Well, I would like to see if he would do a 6-month extension at the $250 of the current contract. And let's let the new superintendent get in here and,
Okay.
And tell
And
him
then there's
we,
still that 30 days, so,
That's always in there,
it's
so.
always in there. And tell him we all like him.
I will tell him
it
that.
has absolutely nothing to do with his skills or ability.
Completely real.
It
Gotta hold the
is
line
not that. It is that we're paying he and his firm more than we're paying our other attorneys. And I'm not willing to do that.
I completely understand. I think he understands that concept as well.
Yeah, we've been through this a
We
few
have.
times.
We have. We
I'm like,
discussed this
we've been
last
done
time.
this? Yeah, I was like, we've done this for a few years.
If you had asked him how it's going to go, he could have told you.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, but he can always hope, right?
and sadly, some of us just had budget meeting updates recently, so.
Oh, very, very good. Important point. And if we do the 6-month extension, that is good, because there are 4 cases now that he currently has that he's taking to DOA for us. And I think usually, even when contracts do end and we go in a different direction, we allow the attorney to keep what's on their plate. Is that how we work that? So.
I don't know.
So,
I don't think he's ever gone away. So-
right, I'm not really sure about that either.
Been here so long.
Right. But, and we've got some
Said,
interesting
he's
cases.
a fabulous attorney, and I have no, he's got a lot of historical knowledge. And that's not, is he worth the 260? Well, probably, but I'm just not willing to pay that.
Exactly, and I think he understands.
But Suzanne's probably worth 260 also, so.
Oh, I am quite sure that she is. I had the pleasure of working with her quite a bit these last few weeks.
That precedent that I think we're willing to set.
Okay.
All right. So,
He'll get consistent business from us going forward, so.
Agency work.
You are right about that.
Consistent work.
we're going to call for a vote. All in favor of approval of this outside counsel agreement for Attorney Mark Levitt of Allen Norton Blue, PA, provide legal service for 12 months, signify by aye. Opposed by the same sign? Aye. Unanimous. May I have a motion to remove from the table the motion submitted at the February 11th, 2020 school board meeting, C10.1 settlement agreement and release for MP?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Throer. Seconded by Ms. King. The motion now on the floor is to vote on item C10.1 settlement agreement and release for MP. We discussed this. We've already discussed this. So all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign?
Aye.
4-1. That motion is approved. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $5,500, $1,000 to Fort McCoy School from Fort McCoy PTO, $1,000 to Fort McCoy School from anonymous donor, $2,500 to Ward Highlands Elementary School from their business partner Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County, $1,000 to Westport High School from Walmart and Court Giving Facility number 6335.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Throer. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Ms. King, can you tell us thank you?
Yes, on behalf of the Marion County School Board, we are just very grateful for your donations, and even at this time of the year, and during the pandemic, and just tough times. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. The next regular administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for June 4th, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss 2020-2021 general insurance renewal review, construction projects update, 2021 health insurance update, and annual equity update report. The following administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for June 18th, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss school planning update, school start, stop times, 2021 health insurance, and Ina A. Colon Academy charter contract. We're at the end. Elena, Ms. Martinez, you have any comments?
Good, thank you.
Ms. Green?
I do have one thing, Chair. Dr. Gullett is beginning her move, and historically, when y'all have had new people kind of move in, you voted on sort of a relocation package for expenses. The way it's worked historically is that y'all have reimbursed the person up to a certain amount. They keep receipts, and then you reimburse them. There's been an ask for that related to Dr. Gullett with relocation expenses of $12,500. If that's something the board would like to consider tonight, y'all could make a motion to consider it and then vote.
Board members?
I'd like to make a motion to consider it, because I'm sure the time is of the essence.
And I'll second.
Okay. So let's have some discussion about this.
I did call the Florida School Board Association and ask if they had an average on what the relocation packages were for the appointed superintendents, and they said it's an average of around $10,000. So this is not out of line with what other districts are doing.
And I too did do some research on the same thing. In-state was a lot less, of course. If it's coming from cross-country, the average was about 10,
And what is her amount?
12.
12.5.
The ask is 12.5.
Why wouldn't we go ahead and offer 10?
Y'all can,
I mean, I know.
I mean, we can say whatever we need to say tonight, so we can kind of get it in progress. I mean, what number are you guys comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with the 12.5. They said it was an average, and that's not that far
Correct.
off, and I don't want it to be a sticking point at all, so I'm comfortable.
and it would be, it is for receipts up to that amount.
Sees, it's a
So-
reimbursement.
So it may not be even that much.
I haven't heard from Ms. Stacy or Ms. King.
Well, she is traveling across the country. You mentioned it was in-state for 10, so, but I haven't done my research and listening to you guys, but I don't want that to be the stick in
Yeah.
the mud either. That's gonna decide, and just hopefully she'll, I mean, we trust her to not, I mean, it's moving, it's expensive, so.
You got 12.5? All in favor for 12.5?
Aye.
Done with that with receipts, Bill?
12.5.
With receipts, okay.
With receipts. Dr. Mayor, is there anything else? I'm sorry, Attorney Green?
I'm all done, thank you.
Dr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Officer Williams, thanks for being with us tonight. Good to see you all the way back there. You have a safe evening, rest of your night. Appreciate you. Today, almost 10,000 more meals were made and delivered to our students, and I'm sure that at least that many lesson plans and Zoom calls and interactions with our students happened. Just, we say it, all of us say it every meeting, just continue to be so impressed and humbled by what everybody's doing to take care of our kids. On June 4th, the work session we talked about a little earlier, we'll have another update for you all on wrapping up the school year, what that looks like, and moving forward into summer. And this is where I was going to share. Mr. Phillips will be here on June 4th to give you an update on end of year or on summer activities and athletics. I do know, though, in conversations with Mr. Phillips, that both he and I are very passionate about having an academic component tied to this, some type of book study or something like that. So that will be happening, and that's always exciting. The next board meeting that we have, you'll see when you get the packet that there's about this many, about 13 pages of staff that have applied and have been approved for that new FMLA. So about 13 pages of them. So Miss Oliver has left, but it's Miss Oliver's office, Ms. Gary, Mr. Collins, and their office have done all of that. That's going to be significant as we move forward into the new school year. And a lot of decisions that we're talking about and things happening are now overlapping into the new school year. And I shared with you last board meeting that working with Dr. Gullett, it's a priority for just because it's the right thing to do. But our kids cannot be caught up in the drama that I was caught up with. It took us so long to just get everything straight. So I had a conversation with Reverend Cummings before the meeting started, and he's going to facilitate, you'll touch on it more in depth, but a task force, I think you said, or a group where we can start planning for what the fall is going to look like. Because even in the best circumstances, I would want her to be involved, Dr. Gullett to be involved, but especially under these circumstances, she's got to have a seat at the table so that she can give her input and just know what is happening. So that's going to happen. But I need you all just to keep in the back of your mind, 13 pages of folks, 13 pages. So kudos to Ms. Gary and her staff and Employment Services who are just, again, we're taking care of our people. And that's just a great feeling, even though, you think
13 pages of folks, but that's 13 pages of folks that have been taken care of. So that is good. So we'll talk more tomorrow, Reverend Chair, on that, but we're in a good spot. And going back to the athletics part of it, even Mr. Phillips said we are so far ahead of every other district. And again, it's because we have folks who care about our kids, and that's what makes the difference here in Marion County. So thank you very much.
Ms. McCall.
Sure. Thursday evening, I want to really thank the Church of the Springs, because this coming Thursday evening, our Take Stock in Children graduates are doing their Take Stock in Children graduate night at Church of the Springs. And they have just been incredibly wonderful and very good to work with. So I wanted to thank Reverend Silva and his staff for all that they're doing to help make our Take Stock in Children graduates feel very, very special on that night. And in listening, to everything, I really, really want to work on getting our kids back in those schools. I think our achievement gap is going to be huge, regardless of what we've done, regardless of all the outreach and support that our kids have had. But I just don't see any way that the achievement gap is not going to be very large. We know we have children that school is their safe haven. I have worried about them since the start of this, and I see a lot of data because of the Children's Alliance, and it's not pretty. And we need our kids back in school. And so whatever we need to do to help move that forward, as I've told you before, Senator Baxley sits on the Children's Alliance board. He wants our kids back in school. I think everybody knows, what is the collateral damage from not getting our kids in school? And I think we really have to start looking at that safety issue of, are they safer in school, and let us do what we need to do to clean.
During the day, it's the only normal time of so many children's day, that 7 hours.
So I just I want people to know publicly that I'm going to do everything I can to work on getting these children back in school. We need normal. We need them, especially our kids. We need them to be normal. And the numbers, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm seeing on a daily basis, it is not good. Of the domestic violence, of the assaults, it is not good. And so let's work to get our kids back in school. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. McCall. Ms. Stacy?
Oh, I agree. We got, I personally know of families that the husbands have been home and they had struggled with alcoholism and done real well as long as they're working, and now they're home and they're back on it because their jobs haven't opened back up yet. And I know of 3 stories, and one's a distant family member. And so I see the damage, Ms. McCall, that you're talking about. Dads were doing so good, and now they're not, and the children need to be back in school, and the jobs need to be opened back up. Tonight I want to talk about the people who did those meals, and the people who did take those meals, and the secretaries in our schools. I did approve the salary schedule for the non-represented people, and I can tell you I was disappointed on the secretaries. That the secretaries, they had one of the lower percentage of increases compared to the represented people.
Right.
Some of the IPCs are sitting right there next to the secretaries, and they got more of a raise, and it's not really all that much difference, but it is a difference. And the secretaries are the ones that take that 5 o'clock in the morning call when the teacher calls and says, I can't be at school, and she starts, we start looking for a substitute, and we start doing everything. She's the one that takes the calls after hours and then in the mornings. And the school secretaries have been the ones that have been there when everybody else was working from home. They were there the longest. And so, I don't know, at some point in time, we have some very key people, and y'all know who they are, that worked throughout this. Some of our bus drivers and our cafeteria workers and our school secretaries that are not, and of course the administrators, where a lot of them were at the schools, but, they're paid a higher salary, but these are the lower salaried people that really gave up their time as much as the administrators did, and they don't make as much, of course, for obvious reasons, but I really would like Dr. Meir and Mr. Cummings, I don't know what we can do for some of these people, and I know the budget's tight and everything, but there's a such thing as being rewarded for your deeds and your hard work, and and that's why I fight the word socialism so much, because there are people who work and there's people who don't work, and then they're carrying the load, and they get tired of carrying the load. If the people will carry the load a long time, as long as they're appreciated and they get some little something back for it. I mean, they'll carry the load, even though it's a very small amount, maybe a couple of days off or something, just to say, well, it wouldn't cost us anything, but just to give them a few days off or some kind of perk for those that were here when we could absolutely not have run this place without them. So y'all know who I'm talking about? So would you put your thinking caps on? Thanks.
Ms. King?
I just have one item, and that's, I received a phone call from a board member from the Good News Club, and she mentioned that the principals are refusing to sign the agreement for the Good News Club, so clubs have been opened up. Yeah, so I was confused too. So Dr. Mayor, if you don't mind checking into that. Yeah, I thought that, so I was a little surprised, and I don't know who or where, but I did receive that phone call.
You lost me there. That's a extracurricular activity that happens
Correct.
after school.
Yes.
That churches come in, volunteer come in, and provide something to our kids for free, almost like tutoring and all that type of thing. And,
Like the Boy Scout Club coming in.
yeah, and so they're not signing it,
That's what I heard, so we'll just check
I'll
if you
check
don't
it,
mind.
yeah,
Okay,
and I'll email y'all and let you know, and then we'll address it again on the floor.
And with
okay, I appreciate
the
it.
new faith-based initiative that's now in statute, then
Correct.
your communities
It's
have
probably a
to know.
misunderstanding or something,
I'm sure, because you know the principals who have it love it, so.
right, well,
Yeah.
that's why I was shocked, so I didn't know,
Maybe
I-
they're
like,
hesitant with not knowing.
with pandemic and not knowing, so if you can just clear that up
Maybe
for them.
not knowing what the schools are gonna be doing in the falls. Right.
And I think so, but still, we can still plan, and work accordingly, and I'm sure they'll plan for Plan B if they have to. So, and that's all I had this evening, and other than, just again, thank you to everyone that is just working so hard. You're almost to the finish line, students, parents, teachers, everybody, except for, of course, those at District East that are preparing for next year. So just thank you so much. You got this.
thank you, Ms. King. Ms. Thrower?
Yes, and I think Board Member McCall, you stated it so well, that our kids and our community, everyone is better off and safer when our kids are in school, and it becomes very emotional to people, and thankfully, the data supports that. Our infection rates in Marion County continue to be very, very, very low. And so we need to be going by the available data, we need to be going by the needs in our community and making those determinations. And what's been, continues to be agonizing, and I think tonight was a good example with our athletics, is that when we feel like we put a plan in place and then we get new guidance from higher up than us, then it puts the cards in the air again, and we want to try to then shift to accommodate this new beginning as quickly as possible, while always having an eye to safety. So I couldn't agree more. I look forward so much to the day when our kids are back in school, and I know that there's already plans being made for Plan A and Plan B. I received a similar phone call, Ms. King, and my understanding is that part of the worry is because of condensed CDC guidelines that were put all over Facebook with not having like our firefighters come to Evergreen anymore because they're outside people, this year to try to minimize the risk, and not having the good news folks come to try to minimize the risks. Well, I would argue that the good news folks, most of them are older people, and they're all volunteers, so they're willing to put themselves at risk to come and help our kids in ways that are so needed. Then I believe that we have just got to get the word out there that it is, I'm speaking for myself because I'm just one board member, but my intent is to have everything that was so good, be back. Also with a Plan B in case something else happens between now and then. But I'm a cup half full kind of person, and I think that we need to be forward thinking at this point. And yes, always the what ifs and being prepared for that. I'm very concerned about our kids. I am certain that our schools are already coming up with appropriate formative assessments that they can use, that they can quickly assess the kids, and where they are academically to plan their academics going forward this year. We have just, got to get the train back on the tracks, and thankfully the data supports that. So again, I encourage the community to continue to keep a good eye on what our governor is saying. This coming Friday, I think he will be coming forward. It'll be 2 weeks again. So we may be moving into phase 2, which could then renew conversation about a lot of things in a great way. So if we get to continue, this gradual reopening, and that's going to make everybody breathe a huge sigh of relief, and hopefully that'll mean more people can get back to work. I just want to read something real quick. It came from an employee, and it is about gratitude. And it makes me also then think about loyalty, because I feel like our employees have been very well taken care of throughout this. And so many companies just didn't have the resources to be able to pay their employees. They didn't have the resources to keep their doors open. People have lost their businesses over this and may likely never regain them. They've been shattered. And then this particular employee said, I just wanted to thank you and the rest of the school board for seeing to it that employees continued to receive their paychecks during these trying times. It was a great relief not to have to worry about paying bills and having money for groceries. I felt bad for all the people in the news that were struggling and appreciative that I was not one of them. So here is my challenge to all of our employees. As we as a board continue to think forward and our governor continues to think forward, I challenge our employees to also start thinking forward and remember that we're going to get back on a great track faster when we all do our part. So I can't wait for next year. We're going to be Phoenix again. And I thank everyone for everything that they do, always.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. Always thank you all for being here, and to our OPD officer as well. We definitely appreciate you being here on tonight. I heard what you were saying about the recognition of our staff. I mentioned to Mr. Christian a few weeks ago something about some coins that we have and doing some other things, because we have to show. The easiest thing, my mom always told me, she said, when people do good by you, you tell them thank you, and you show them that you appreciate what they did. And we have so many staff, we can't name them all, food service folk, bus drivers, folk, these teachers, those that kept pushing the bar higher, that we have to tell them thank you, but we have to be able to show them something. What that's going to look like, I honestly don't know. But I'm sure we're all smart enough that we can come up with something that we can do to let them know that we appreciate them. And that were there, hold on, that were there the whole time. I'm not talking about the ones that just jumped in at the last minute. There were some folk that from day one, they stayed with it in spite of, and they're still there. They were tired. They put themselves in harm's way. They stuck it out.
And they didn't have to.
And they did not have to. And so those are the people that I truly want to show some type of appreciation for, because they didn't have to do it. They could have stayed home. They could have,
And they would have been paid.
yeah. And like Ms. Thorold just said, I too got some, I get a lot of phone calls, but I got some phone calls from some staff members that said, you know, Rev, you guys could have just said, go home and not paid us, but you didn't. We didn't have to get in the unemployment line. We didn't have to try to work through that system. We didn't have to do any of that. You guys kept paying us, even at risk of it hurting the district. They said that we kept paying them. And they appreciated that because they don't know how they would have made it if we had not kept paying them. So I'm grateful that we as a board, as a district, said that we were going to do the right thing and take care of our people, which is something that we've always said. And we did that. We were taking care, and we're still taking care of them. So I appreciate those staff members that recognized that we took care of them. Because, and I'm like the rest of you guys, I'm waiting for this thing to move forward. Our kids are safer in school. We know that. We know, and I kind of alluded to it several meetings, that we don't know what's going on in people's head at home. We don't know what the household looks like. We don't know.
Beth knows.
And I know too. But I mean, the majority of people just think people are at home, but you can go stir crazy being in the house, and things happen.
Especially people who are just on the edge to start with.
Right. So I think kids are safer at school. I think we need to get them back so that they can continue the progresses and the gains that we've had this past year. We don't want it to be a huge slide. We know there's going to be some slide, but we got to figure out how to make up the difference and work on that. So that was one of the reasons why I mentioned with Dr. Mayer about getting with Dr. Gullett and forming some type of task force. I just call it a Fall 2020 School Reopening Task Force, because we need to start planning now versus waiting on the governor or the president or whomever to give us recommendations. We need to have some plans in place that will line up. They may have to be flexible. They may have to be moving, because everything that we've been doing lately has been a moving target. That's why Ms. Slaughter was here tonight, because we're still shooting at a moving target. But I think the best thing that we can do is start planning now. With Dr. Gullett coming in and Dr. Mayer willing to kind of, they pull together this task force. We need to have not just a plan, but we need to have several plans to be prepared for August, because I'm hoping and expecting that come August we will be starting school. Don't know what it's going to look like, but we need to make sure that we have a plan of what it could possibly look like. We saw that crazy stuff on Facebook. Some of the stuff were CDC recommendations, but some of it was a little far-fetched. We got to deal with the facts and not the far-fetched stuff.
And the fact
and
is
make
not
good
a
decisions.
not a single person under 25 has died in the state of Florida, but you can't say that about the flu. Babies have died from the flu.
We're going to still deal with the recommendations that they're giving us. We got to make
so
good decisions.
that's-
Because one of the things that really kind of threw me, and this has been one pet peeve of mine when I keep looking at this, the first step for most kids going to school is getting on the bus. So when I look at getting on the bus, and you're saying on a normal time, you got 40, 50 kids on a school bus, and then you say they got to be one kid per seat, every other seat. That tells me it's going to be a whole lot of kids getting to school late, or school's going to be starting early. There has to be some adjustments some kind of way. We're going to have to hire a bus driver, something. We got to work those things out now.
Let's see about
instead of
overall this.
We hope, but we need to have a plan in place just in case it doesn't. And those are the things that we need to plan for. So that's why I asked Dr. Mayer, and we'll facilitate her and Dr. Gullett getting together and working on these plans. Let's have a plan A, B, C, and D if necessary. But hopefully, we hoping everything is normal. We don't know. But that's what we're looking forward to happening. And I want the kids to be back out in sports and all that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to the 4th to see what Mr. Phillips has to say. And I think if the parents just be patient with us, give us opportunity to see what's going on, to make good decisions. That's all we've ever asked. Give us the opportunity to make good decisions. We're going to do right by the people. We're not going to do wrong. And I believe that everything will work out all right. I did today meet again with the budget committee earlier this morning. I think you guys they set some of you guys up to meet with them as well. So have an open mind. That's the best thing I could say. We don't know. There's still a lot of unknowns with the state budget coming down. It hasn't been signed, and we don't know if the legislature is going to have to go back in and make readjustments to that. If they make readjustments up there, we know it's going to everything falls down, comes trickle down. So we have to be prepared to make adjustments as well. So with that being said, I'm glad to see everybody back from the holiday weekend. It just seemed like a long weekend to me. Yeah, extremely long weekend. So
There's definitions of long weekends.
Been doing it for what, 3 months?
yeah,
Had a 3-month Memorial Day.
yeah. So there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thorough, seconded by Ms. King. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:37.